Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's installment of Talk About It Tuesday. And Coach Smith coming to you from my humble abode. Currently, going to give this a few minutes, allow individuals to jump onto the feed. And from there, if you're coming in, stopping by, make sure you drop into the comments section. Let me know that you can hear me loud and clear. And from there, we will review an exciting new release, which is coming to you on July 16th, which is this Friday, and that is the Hammer Web Pearl. So as individuals are coming in, like I said, please stop by. Drop into the comments section. Let me know you can hear me loud and clear. Let me know who's on the feed, and we'll get started here in a little bit. Larry, thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Usually we give it a good 2.5 minutes or so until we can get a good crowd coming in here. And as I can see, the attendance going up very, very, very quickly tonight here. So we're going to have a good little discussion here on this new release. What's going on, Terry? Jonathan, what's going on? Joey Pelusic, what's up, my man? Supposed to be drilling bowling balls right now. It is 8:30. I guess you're done for the night. All right, we're almost at the 2-minute mark, and then we'll start giving it a little bit of an introduction here, and then obviously, just like any other feed that we do on here, we essentially like to do a review of the ball a little bit, give you kind of a brief introduction, and then we generally open up some comment sections to kind of get a feel or any baseline questions you may have. I did load up the video, which I can share with you right off of the Hammer site. And essentially, we can show their little brief introduction if you haven't gone over to there. DJ, what's going on, man? Kids are down at Indy. Hopefully, they're enjoying the Junior Gold experience. Nicholas, no, it is not urethane. This is a resin bowling ball with the Aggression Pearl cover on it. Doyle Irons, what's going on, my man? Long time, brother. Haven't ran into you for a while. Guess I need to start traveling through Baltimore a little more if I'm gonna run into you. What's up, Colby? We got a good amount of people on here. So just to kind of give a, kind of a background and kind of a brief overview before we kind of dive into it here. So obviously, the Hammer brand has been a staple in the bowling community for as long as I've been around and way before me. And as we know, the Hammer brand was acquired by the Brands of Brunswick, including the other three from Hopkinsville. And the biggest challenge that we had when the acquisition took place is that the inventory that was in kind of the stream was not part of the purchase. So all the bowling balls that Hammer had currently had on the market were essentially sold off to distributors, and they were not sold directly to the Brands of Brunswick. So basically, they got all the acquisition, they got the intelligence, some, everything when it came to the cores, the lines, anything like that. But what they had to do is they were challenged to quickly, get some bowling balls to market, going through the change in Hammer and actually replenishing the whole entire manufacturing process and the whole stream of bowling with new releases. So, over the past year, we've seen a lot of releases come from within the Hammer brands to kind of get us back to having that full arsenal. And with that, I mean, one of the areas was having another offering, which was going to be a really, kind of staple in the bag, a familiar shape. And obviously it fell within the Web series. So, we've seen the Web MB. We've seen the Obsessions coming out through the line, the Obsession Tour, which has been incredible. We talked about the Purple Hammers. We did the Scorpion about a week ago. And here again, we have a new version of the Web Pearl. If you remember back to the days of Hopkinsville, there was a Web Pearl in the line that was kind of that black and smoke color, and which also utilizes spheroid core. But what we've done now is we've basically, freshened it up. We've taken that proven spheroid core that was in the Web series, and we've wrapped it with the Aggression Pearl cover stock. So from a base perspective, from the Aggression Pearl, you've seen that in things like the the Statement Pearl. I believe it was in the Redemption Pearl, obvious there on top of that. So you got a really good big cover that was put on a symmetrical piece with an RG value of 2.481 and a differential of 0.48. So you have basically your benchmark, quicker, symmetrical piece that's going to definitely give you some down lane motion and, jumping off of the spot down lane. I think the coolest thing is I think they hit a home run with this when it comes to the color combination. So, for myself, I love seeing bowling balls that are either more of, solid colored bowling balls or not, super bright fluorescence and stuff. They're a little hard to read for me. So when I saw this was coming out and it was kind of a cross with the jade and that smoke look to it, it essentially gave some shelf appeal and aesthetically matches up with the eyes. It just gives that kind of that feel that it's a hammer ball, right? It's tough as nails. So as we're going through that, I thought it'd be kind of cool before we have comments and stuff that kind of come through it and kind of talk about where this is going to fit in the bag. But let's see what I loaded up the video here and we'll see what the Rebel had to say about it as he introduced this. So I'm going to pop on over. You should have this screen and the audio should be good on it. And play this video for you and have kind of a brief little introduction on this as well.
Tom Doherty here. It's time to reintroduce a legend back into the hammer line, Web Pearl. The Web Pearl is finished with 500, 1000, 1500 sea air with Crown Factory compound on top. This combination will give bowlers a skid flip ball reaction on typical house shots and other medium oil patterns. The Web Pearl features the original spheroid symmetrical core with an RG of 248 and a differential of 0.48. The spheroid core has quickly become a staple in the hammer product line, offering the perfect symmetrical complement to our famous gas mask core. We also brought back the Aggression Pearl cover stock from the original and a mean-looking jade smoke color combination. The Web Pearl is available in 12 through 16 pounds. Comparing the Web Pearl to the Web Tour Hybrid, you'll see easier length with more pronounced back-end motion. The Web Tour Hybrid is a great ball for controlling the break point, and the Web Pearl is perfect for opening your angles and hooking hard off the dry. For more information about the Web Pearl and other hammer products, follow us on all our social media pages and visit us at hammerbowling.com.
So pretty much the same, kind of the same message that Tom was kind of putting up there is really starting to kind of cue in and going over to kind of where this bowling ball fits. So it's a really, really good compliment, in my opinion, to the Web Tour Hybrid, which has been an incredible piece that's been in the bag. So, with the tour cover, it wasn't the tour cover for me was a little later on the blocks. I'm kind of controlling the break point a little bit, but when we get a step left, may have felt sometimes like the cover wasn't quite enough or wasn't as responsive enough as it was when we wanted to make bigger angles. So going into the Web Pearl is going to give you a little bit more length, considerably when you get later into the block and steeper angles through the front part of the lane. And it's going to allow that bowling ball to stand up harder off the back end of the pattern. And as you heard on that, the same thing he just said, it's another good complement to, he referred to the gas mask core. So when we're going from the symmetrical side of the bag and we're getting into Widow 2.0s and then going into Obsession Tour, the Obsession Tour, and then getting into the big balls for the Obsession. This is a really good complement to kind of level out that bag when we're going from the asymmetrical side of the bag going down into the symmetrical side. So depending on what you're throwing, if you're throwing something that's maybe, a hybrid cover stock or something that's an asymmetrical ball and you're looking for a step down, where you want to get a little more length, maybe something a little sharper off the point later in the block when it's stepping up, you can go into the Web Pearl very easily and see a lot of down lane motion with this bowling ball. This bowling ball does release on July 16th, so it's going to be available to the general public already on Friday. So I did make sure that I ordered plenty of these. Definitely going to be, it's also Purple Hammer Day coming up on Friday, so we know we're going to be busy drilling a whole bunch of those, but we don't want to get to the point where we're kind of missing out on some other special releases, this particular Pearl, and also the Scorpion that's coming along with this that we reviewed 2 weeks ago, which has been putting up absolute monster numbers. If you didn't see it, Carrie had reviewed that ball 2 weeks ago. She came into the center, she threw it on Throw It Thursday. We had hit the cover a little bit on that thing and it looked pretty good. And then she said, she got asked the sub, went out Thursday of last week, both 300, 825, and I think 1089 or 1090 for 4 games. So it was quite the night. That ball looks really, really good. That's also going to be available on Friday. So for myself, sometimes I like to talk about this where it's going to kind of fit. I'm definitely, it's a little less when we're out on tour and stuff like that, getting into the pearls, into the blocks. We don't really get to throw these quite enough. But I'm definitely going to do mine with a standard layout on the first one. I actually have 2 of these. So I'm going to do the first one with a standard layout for me, just to kind of control it right around a control layout, about 5 inches from my axis, and of a val angle of about 45. That's a pretty common one for me. I will likely also go and do a pin down version as well, just to kind of, get it a little distinctly different motion where we're going to actually see one that's maybe a little more rounded, not too sharp off of the spot, but maybe a little more continuous through the pins. So I'm going to be monitoring these comments that are coming through, and I'm going to open it up here soon, but looks like the other half who's upstairs says, I know everyone is wondering, so I'll be the one to ask. Let's see what it comes up here. Whoops. Sorry, I got one more before this. I know everyone is wondering, so I'll be the first one to ask. How is the Web Pearl different from the one that was released by ABI before? I think here's the biggest difference for me that I think you're going to see. Because the technology, it's the same spheroid core and the aggression cover that is put on top of it. But I think the main difference you're going to see is the finishing process from the brands of Brunswick, and also going into using Crown compound. Okay, so at your finishing steps, we're using a different type of compound for the finishing. Whereas, down in Hopkinsville days, obviously Crown is a compound that's used by Brunswick. Back when in the Ebonite days, you were into your powerhouses and stuff like that in your finishing process. So I thoroughly expect for this ball to feel a little sharper than the original version. Once it sees friction, I felt like the original release was maybe a little too clean and then not quite enough off the spot. I always felt like that ball was close, but I felt like the original needed a little more surface prep to it, a little more scratch to get that ball to really stand up and do the things we wanted to. What else do we got here? What's up, Richie? Yes, fill the frames. I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting me on that. Yeah, this was pushed back to the 30th from the distributor. I actually forgot about that. All right, let's see what we have here. Another question coming in is, how would you compare it to the Melee Jab Blood Red? Kind of in that same realm of a Melee Blood Red. The only thing I would say to that is the pigment color of the Blood Red made that particular release feel a little earlier than the previous jabs that came before it. I would assume this is going to be a little cleaner than that Blood Red jab, just from the coloration. Red Ball seemed to see the front a little more. just based on the pigment colors. So I think you're going to see a little bit more, projection with this ball through the front part of the lane, and essentially a little more off the spot. I'm actually really excited to get some holes in the midnight blue one that's coming out as well, and just see the distinctly the different versions of what it looks like just from pigment color alone. Because if you went through those balls there, Aaron, the purple one and the red one is essentially, they were very different for me. I mean, the purple one was way cleaner than the red one currently is, and if you ask me which one I prefer the most, I really like the blood red more than the other one. Sorry, you spelled my name wrong. I don't know if I caught that, Patricia. So it's okay if you did. You put an extra E in there. So everybody does that stuff. What are you saying here, Joey? If you're going to compare, it's similar to the Pandemonium. Are you talking about the blood red, Joe, or are you trying to say about the web? I have some other questions I can't put up here on the screen that are coming through, and I try to address these as much as I can. But I had another one that came across the feed, and it was kind of asking, how does this compare to from the Storm side an IQ Tour Pearl? And it's different. I mean, just the differential alone. I think the IQ Tour Pearl, the gold ball, I think the differential on that was 0.29, and I think the RG of that ball is slightly higher too. So I would say this bowling ball, it kind of gets to that realm, but I mean, when you're looking at the overall differential difference between the two, really the potential for the Web Pearl is probably going to be a little quicker coming off of the friction and a little more through the pins. Oh, now we got that. That's a hard one. I mean, that's not on this ball, Doyle, but how does a purple hammer compare to a burgundy hammer? It's cleaner. I mean, even though the purple hammer is a super high RG ball, believe it or not, but it's definitely an early shape. If you're going back to doing a purple hammer versus a traditional burgundy hammer, and you're throwing it on today's conditions, if the surface prep on those bowling balls are the same, that burgundy hammer should be earlier. Like even when you compare a purple to a black, from the Hopkinsville ones, the black hammer is considerably earlier than the purple, because at the end of the day, the purple hammer is actually a pearl. Just with surface prep and stuff like that, it doesn't seem that way, but it's just an absolutely unique ball, and trying to replicate it is almost impossible, and that's why it's so prevalent right now and it's used so much. Yes, aesthetically, green ball skid flip. Yep, yeah, I agree. When it comes down to it, and I think you got to think pigment does it matters. I mean, pigment makes bowling balls, and we've seen this going all the way back to, if you want to go to Hopkinsville days, like with the original Mission, right? And when bowling manufacturers are going to release a bowling ball, right, and they make an announcement, and you get to the point where it's going to come to market, one thing we need to realize is that those bowling balls have been in the works for, in all likelihood, from the time it's kind of introduced, you're well over a year. Okay, so it's going to take a year to a year and a half to when a ball is kind of going to fit into a line and they see where the need is, or a replacement in something, until it actually hits the store and comes to market. Now, during that process, when they're doing core and cover combos and stuff like that, the other thing they're always doing too is working through different pigmentations, which play a part in the final role of what that ball is going to do. And we could all say, black balls roll better. I think they just read the mid lane so much better, and they just seem to not be as whippy off the spot. I think they're more control pieces, and we like to see that continuation. Chad kind of hit on that a little bit with the Web Pearl compared to the old one. Again, the old one I think is cleaner. It's going to give you a little more distance, but it's not going to be as good off the spot. The new release of the green one is probably going to be a little earlier than the original one, just based on the cover, and then it's going to be more through the pins. That cover stock's just a little more aggressive. How does pigment affect ball roll? I think the easiest thing for that, Terry, is I think it really affects the skid phase of a bowling ball and how it enters into the hook phase more than anything. And that's my own thought process to how it is, because certain pigments seem to see the lane earlier. To me, that is just the transition from a phase of the bowling ball. And that is, getting it to the point where it's going from the skid to the hook phase, I think is the biggest thing where you're going to see those coloration differences in the balls. Again, they have to go through all the phases no matter what you do. Do I think it's, as important as surface prep? Absolutely not. I mean, surface prep rules the roost. We prove that time and time again. We can hit bowling balls with Abralon pads and make them distinctly different very quickly front to back. That's the biggest component to actually what you see on the lane. What do we get here, Mark? Pigment also changes oil. When you go from the blue that they usually use to the red, they also experiment with. There's a breakdown change. Oh, I'm assuming you mean the oil on TV. Yeah, I mean, that could be a number of things. I mean, it could be the viscosity of the oil that was used for that as well. How much that transitions, but it's anything that you're dealing with when you're dealing with a polymer and you're dealing with pigmentation is going to change the properties. I mean, if you think about it, if you look at different inserts that are on the market, okay, not in the bowling ball side, depending on the color of that insert and the pigment to get how vibrant it is, really changes the actual texture of that and how hard or soft it is. I mean, if you've seen whether it's Vice or Turbo Ultimate, a clear grip with no pigment in it tends to feel a little tackier and softer than it does if you go with anything that adds a very pronounced color to it. Will actually harden that up a little bit. So it's you're dealing with polymers and reactive resins and things along those lines. One coming here through YouTube. So would you see the Scorpion and the Web Pearl as a good 1-2 combo for League? Sure. I think you have, the differences in the cover stock there, obviously. Numbers are quite different. You're obviously going to be, for the most part, probably on the Scorpion early, and as the lanes transition and kind of force you in, and maybe the Scorpion starts to feel a little early, or you open up the front angle and you start flat tenning and stuff like that. You need a bowling ball that's maybe a little quicker and a little more through the pins. You're going to have a good progression to go right into a Pearl from that. So I think it was a good time, and some of the intention to releasing both of these bowling balls at the same time, as it kind of works, one off of the other here. So absolutely, Jarrett, it's a good question. What else we got out there? Man, 23 minutes in already. Goes quick. Grab a sip of water here while I'm waiting for one to come through here. What do we get here? Marquise, what's up, my man? I didn't miss you this time. I did not miss the first time you said hello. So where's your question, big guy? Scroll right back up the feed here. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. It's above. A lot of comments come through. It's kind of hard to catch them all. What's going on, Colby? I don't know if I missed yours earlier. I know you're eagerly awaiting. What's up, Rick Rule? Chris, what's up, man? Hey, Richie, what's going on? You got a new comment coming in here. You were looking for that Stella review. Well, I did a vote. It's not like the Stellar isn't going to get reviewed. Obviously, I mean, me personally, I'm super excited to do that one. I was an absolute huge fan of the Versamax. That may be one of those balls that, man, how many Versamax? I think I had 4 or 5 Versamaxes in the bag at one point. Ball was just that good. The core matched up well, but it's probably going to be next week when we do that one. It was actually pretty close for a while between the Stellar and the this one getting reviewed first, but we'll probably be doing the Stellar next week. And then the Command Solid. The Command Solid's an interesting one for me because I felt like the original Command was, it literally was like the cleanest cover I've ever thrown. The ball just went like 60 feet for me. It's a little excessive before it saw it. And then, with enough surface, it was pretty good. So I'm actually quite interested to see what that core does with, the bigger cover, trying to make it a little earlier, because I think it's going to be an absolute mid-lane monster. So, Terry, possible throw-out Thursday with this piece? Yes, there will be a Thursday throw-out Thursday. It will likely be Kerry and I. So as long as I continue to feel good. The arm felt really good this past weekend. Didn't get to bowl much up into the regional. Caught a check. Came about 30 from the final. So can't be too disappointed when you're preparing for, an event against 80 of the best ones in the East. And ended up finishing 21st. It was Purple Hammerfest. Could be again this weekend at Rockaway because there's a 39 feet foot difference, lower ratio than the other one by maybe a little bit, and the milliliters is it's going to be a Purple Hammerfest again. What's up, Jan? What's going on, Dan Schreiner? Glad to see you coming in. Pants 4.5. Great late when the front. So yeah, Joe, I know I got to see Joe throw this a little bit. Looked really good for him. So he went with a 4.5 by 30. What I can tell you about that, I know Joe uses a lot of smaller valve angles, to kind of try to get his bowling ball to roll forward on today's slicker conditions and kind of a lower, slightly lower rev rate. And we talk a great deal about layouts together, and he went with a slightly higher valve on this one for him, just to make sure not everything was kind of blending together. Here's a good one. Let's see. How many pre-orders do you have for the Purple Hammer? How many weeks are you going to be on the press? Moving from tennis and golf elbow to the press elbow. Well, the tennis elbow is probably from drilling so much, but we got over 60 pre-orders on the Purple Hammer, Chad. So I'm going to be quite busy. Probably going to need to sharpen my bits halfway in between, but wouldn't have it any other way. I don't really read comments like that. I mean, I don't know what you mean by that, Rick Lopez, but if you're coming by here to troll, just go somewhere else. All right. Do you think it would be a good piece to add to my bag, since I already have a Melee Jab Blood Red and both the Obsession Tour? It definitely blends in with the Obsession Tour. To answer your question from the Blood Red, again, I really do feel that Blood Red's going to be earlier. So I think there's enough distinction between the two that you would have no issue at all if you were to add this to the bag. If I think about it, and when we're going in for the feed on Thursday, I will try and remember to grab a Blood Red out of the bag and take it along with me, and maybe I can throw it up against it and give you my my preliminary thoughts on if there's enough distinction between those two pieces. But gut instinct, numbers, covers, cores, everything like that, I would think there's plenty of distinction between the two. All right, we got room for a couple more questions here before I kill it for the night. Bernie, I got your kind of addressed that a little bit. That one came through. Web Pearl reminded him at a Storm IQ tour. What are your thoughts on that bold statement? How will the Web Pearl compare? I understand symmetric. From a WebMB, obviously the WebMB it's a spheroid core, but it's stretched out a little bit, which gave it that little bit of asymmetry to it. The WebMB is super, super clean. I mean, it is super clean. very angular at box, but there's enough distinction between these two. I think you're going to see, even though it's a web pearl from the symmetric version, what you're going to see out of that is that you're going to see a more rounded movement, even though it's a pearl, than you would from that MB that's very sharp. Both of them are going to continue pretty well, but I think where the MB kind of stands up and goes forward so quickly, I think that this release here is actually going to be, like I said, just a little more rounded. It's going to be quick off the spot. It's going to be a little more rounded, but it's going to be better through the pins than that MB is. But the other statement about the IQ Gold, I mean, I don't even have one to throw up against it, even if we wanted to do a fun comparison. But the Gold IQ was lower differential overall, higher RG, so might look somewhat like it. I just don't think, it's such a distinctly different shape. I mean, come on. I mean, the Storm balls are super long, super angular, super quick off the spot. It's just different philosophies and the way the cores and stuff. But I can't imagine it's super close. What do we got here? Is that purple Black Widow International ball considered to be a solid or a pearl? If this was one of the bowlers, Mark Bowl, I think I know what you're talking about. I don't really have any inside info on the international stuff. I don't really deal with them. I don't throw them. They're not sent to me. I don't have anything that I can really talk to that about. Basically, all I know is that, especially with Bowler Smart, there's some other online e-tailers and stuff that'll do them. I know there was a Super Obsession or something that was just released by them. They basically just they bring in a big lot of international stuff and give it up to the general public to purchase those. They usually do like a drop. It's almost like a sneaker drop or something, and it gives them something a little different. But again, it's a lot of the same stuff we see over here on the stateside. There's differences in the color and stuff like that. When you look at the cover stocks, a lot of the times they're shared. They're just different core and color combos, and nothing really special about them. But you know what? They sell a ton of them, and people love to repost them for double what they paid for them like 2 days later. But me personally, I'm not paying that kind of money. You're not getting a better bowling ball from an international release than what you're getting here on the state side. I mean, it's a rare color, but you're not getting any performance difference. All right. What do you got, Marquise? I've always wanted a hammer. Maybe get you to drill me something up special. Bernie was raving about your decisions. Yeah, Bernie's been bowling good. Made some changes and some other philosophies, and kind of looking at Bernie's ball roll and changing up, some of his pin to pap distances have been pretty huge for him to see overall ball motion, and pairing that with, delivery that he has, pairing that up with the motions that we see from the 7 brands under our realm and under our umbrella, they just match up really well. Not every single person is going to, match a particular ball company. Through the years, I've been pretty much with, the brands of Brunswick and or Hammer for the better part of the last 20 years. But, way back in the day, I threw other companies and, Utah balls and stuff like that, and they didn't match me at all. I mean, they were just, being heavy handed. And when I was younger, I was very, very grabby, hit up on it, never knew where my ball was going. They were too angular for me. So again, anybody that's on the broadcast or we're reviewing pieces or doing anything, I don't ever come on here and say like, you got to throw this particular hammer ball, and I'm not going to, push a new release on you just because it's a new release. The whole intention of when we go back through, delivering these and kind of talking through balls that are coming to the market it's just to give you a preliminary, understanding of where the intent is, kind of where it falls into the lines. And then for you to, either talk to me or, if you're not close to me and you're talking to another pro shop, to talk with your pro shop operator to make sure it makes sense for your arsenal, your bag, filling a need that you have, That way you as a consumer can make a educated purchase that's going to fulfill what your need is. Okay, that's really what the name of the game is. And I just want to educate you enough to give you a baseline to make a purchase that makes sense for what you're looking for. Jim Noak, what's up, my man? What do we got here? In the past was a huge rhino line fair. Anything close to that? Well, they are different now. But we obviously do have the rhino line under the umbrella, and now it's treated more. Back in the day, the rhino was kind of like the high performance ball, Rhino Pros, things along that line. Now it's more of a nostalgic kind of entry level. The shapes are distinctly different from that. But there's definitely shapes. Going back, Jim, I remember, all of us were big fans of the teal and the T2, and I mean, you're going way back. The purple one was one of the best balls of all time. But if you're looking to kind of fit the bill and something that's going to have kind of that shape, I'm going to say that some of the some of the solid hybrids seem to give kind of that shape that you might be familiar with. Because remember, when those rhinos came out, man, those balls went back in the day on the wood and the oils, and not having machines with anything other than wicking pads and stuff. They just really danced off the back end of the pattern. And I think a hybrid would probably give you kind of that feel of that quickness, whereas like today's pearls and stuff are maybe a little too steep through the front and or too steep coming off the end of the pattern. I think you just want that more blended kind of sweeping motion that you saw in some of those. So there's a lot of good ones that are through the lines right now. I mean, my favorites right now is Strata Hybrid's really good. If you stay in track and you want a solid version, the Proof Hybrid is still super special. There's a lot of good stuff coming out. We're going to be reviewing here in the next few weeks. So keep your nose tuned to that, Jim. I think there's something that could fit the bag there. What else we got here? Terry, there's no hard choices. You're left-handed. Your nickname is Splinter, and you just need to throw purple hammers. You and Matt Pine. But hammer surprised me. Used to not be good. Now I have 3 or 2, not counting my purple. So many good ones. It is. It's a change. I mean, I think we talked about this so much over the years that I think like every ball company gets on these situations where they're a lot of really, really good releases, and I don't want to say they're the hot balls in the market or something, but they go through peaks and valleys where somebody's really got a niche for something, or a really good core, a really good cover that's kind of proven, it's really matching up with the slicker oils and stuff like that, and it's what it's really coming about. And again, it comes down to the friction properties more than anything. Once you get that niche, I think they go on runs where they're making a lot of really, really good bowling balls that are really matching up with the current environment. And unfortunately, when they choose to change the environment, and what I mean by that is developing new patterns and using these regenerating oils and just changing what we're bowling on, changes our decisions and what ball choices are and things that are going to work well at that time. And right now, I just think the the hammers being the bowling balls that have always been really proven to be just really, really good in the mid lane make a lot of sense right now. And I think that's going to be something we talk about for the next year or two here. And I don't see that changing, because I think everything that we've been bringing to market, like I don't feel like we've had a ball that's come out that I was kind of like, it's close, but it's really not for me. There's just been so much really good stuff that's coming out under the hammer umbrella that is making this, again, in my opinion, makes it the most complete line available in the market. Loved your teal rhino. All right, gang, we're at about 40 minutes. I'm talking like crazy. So How about if anybody's got one or two more questions, I'll address those real quick before I cut it off for the night. But hopefully, everybody is back in pretty much full swing out there, hitting as many tournaments as possible, kind of getting their stuff geared up, hoping to look for winter season, a little bit of normalcy here, and getting on the lanes and competing, and that the the segments are kind of a segue to get you into purchasing something that makes sense for you. And as the consumer, I think it's important. We want to make sure that we get you the right one in your hands. Anyone else out there? Am I still offering lessons? Yes, I give an incredible amount of lessons. Over at the center, obviously, travel schedule is a little crazier at this time of the year. I am definitely competing a lot myself now. I'm back on the lanes pretty much full time. So right in the heart of regional season here. So we're kind of the weekend warriors right now. PWBA Tour will be starting back up in August. And actually, at the end of this month, we'll be headed out to Houston to bowl the Lucy, which is a huge mixed doubles event sponsoring basically with focused on breast cancer and charities and raising awareness. So that's one we hit every single year. But yeah, Marquise, I do something, probably 4 or 5 days out of the week, a couple times a day. That's what we're there for. I mean, the training facility is really much so. It was created to try and educate as much as possible and really hone in the skills of any individual that's out there, no matter what the skill level is, and just make them, the best player they can be. But yeah, travel will probably slow down towards the end of August. I mean, once we get into the thick of, getting back into league season, things along those lines, we'll go back to basically fall and winter hours as well. I'm there a lot more. The travel will slow down, and then I can offer even more opportunities for people to come in and get some work in. All right, I think that's a kind of a good place to kind of put the hit the break, wrap it up here for the night. So next thing we'll be looking for is Thursday night. We'll try probably sometime around 8 o'clock is usually when we try to get on the lanes and showcase these bowling balls a little bit. If we do get them on the lanes, I'll try to pick a pattern that's that makes sense for the bowling balls, and then see what the offering is. Trying to remember, I'll try to bring a blood red with me, and if there's any other bowling ball you want me to throw it against, again, it's got to be in our 7 brands. I don't drill other brands just to do comparisons on my own. But if you want to see it thrown up against something and we have it, we'll do our best to throw it up against it, and we'll go from there. So until then, tune in on Thursday night. Continue to support bowling. By all means, buy the brands of Brunswick, specifically Hammer. And we'll catch y'all soon. Have a good evening.